Okay, so in the last lesson we typed in a bunch of stuff that does nothing for our game. Why don't we go ahead and show you that we're doing something though, okay? So this is a function that you're going to use quite a bit when programming and debugging, and not even in just necessarily a game engine. It could be web program. You're going to log something to the console so that we can see what's going on. So this function for debugging is called debug.log, and then we can pass a value to it within these parentheses. So we're going to pass in x. I'm going to save this script, and we're going to go back to our game, and I'm going to show you that we're actually doing something with that code. So this is the console right here. We have a bunch of errors. Don't worry about that just yet. I'm going to clear those. Okay, so we have all these errors with the script. Don't worry, that's totally to be expected. We're going to have them throughout our time coding. I promise you we will. So at least what this does when you have a console error, it tells you on which line. So it tells you which script is the problem. Our Elfman controller script is the problem, and line 10 and space 27. So if we go here and line 10 space 3, we're probably going to find a problem and that we need to debug. So line 10, I have animator equals get component animator, and then I call it. So something's wrong here, and it's a really simple error, and I'm glad it happened because it's going to happen to you, and I don't want you to freeze up and be like, I can't code. That's just not true. You can code. So the problem here is I forgot a capital letter here, animator, all right? It's that simple. So I'm going to hit save. We'll go back over to Unity. We'll hit clear, and all those errors go away. And I know all that red ink seemed kind of scary, like intimidating. But if you go back, it was just a simple little problem here. So don't worry. You're going to have those errors happen. It's totally okay. So let's get back to what we were trying to do, debug.log x. What do you guys think will pop out when we press the input for horizontal? So A or D or left or right arrows. Any guesses? Well, let's find out. I'm going to hit play here, and nothing happens. But it's debugging.log, and it's just saying an object. So, but when I press the arrow keys, I get this number, either positive 2 point something or negative 2 point something, or if I hit A, negative 2 point something, or D, negative 2 point something. And notice it's point something. There's this point something, 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 something. It's because it's a floating point value, which means that it's not just a whole number. It's not 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 2.49, blah, 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 on and on, right? Okay, so I'm going to stop the game there. That was just to prove to you that we were actually grabbing a real value here from our inputs. Okay? If we put Z in here and save, go back to our game and press play, and then press W or S, we're also getting a value, negative 0.05 and 0.04. So lesser values, but values nevertheless. And we can use these to make decisions. All right? So what we're going to do in this code next is we're not just going to debug log it to the screen. We're actually going to make a decision on what animation state we're going to play using either a negative or positive value. So depending on which one is called, that's the value we're going to use. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. If not, just keep tracking with me, and I promise it will start to make sense. Okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to transform dot rotate 0, x, 0. Okay, so what are we doing there? What we're going to do is we're going to transform our character and rotate him based on these three values. Now these three values are, remember the X, Y, Z axis? And so forget about the X. It's not the X axis. This is X, Y, and Z. It's always that way. X is first, Y is second, and Z. We just named a variable X right here. We could have named this horizontal. Okay, we could have named this vertical. And then we could insert this horizontal value here, if that makes it a little easier for you to understand, because this is X, Y, and Z. There are 3 axes on this. And then we're also going to transform dot translate. That means move. And we'll go 0 in the X, 0 in the Y, and we're going to go vertical in the Z. Hopefully this is not confusing. That's the problem with coding, is that you're abstracting things. You name something, you give something a name, and then you have to kind of remember what, oh, that's actually a value, it's a number. It's going to be either a negative or positive number. We looked at that number in debug.log. We know it's going to be 2.4 something or negative 2.4 something, and this one will be either negative or positive number as well. Okay, so we could name that whatever we want. I'll go ahead and save that. I take that back. We can't name it anything we want. I can't name it update with a capital. I can't name it void. I can't name it var, because these are reserved names that the computer programming language is reserved. So that is something you do have to be careful of. I can't name this just anything I want. I'm going to try to name it something that I can remember what it's for, but isn't a reserved name. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. And if we've done our job here, something should happen when we press play here and then press the keys. So he's looking around, and then I'm pressing the up arrow and the down arrow, and he's moving. And I hit the left arrow, the right arrow, and he's moving. So it's moving his body around, but it's not changing his animation state. His animation state is still idle, but I'm able to move my character around now. Okay, so we are making progress. Not exactly probably what you would have expected. He looks like he's snowboarding without a snowboard. So that's cool. I like snowboarding. Talk to me about it sometime. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. We're starting to write real code that does something. In the next lesson, we'll take that code and change animation states with it. I'll see you then.